India and European Union jointly declared the conclusion of negotiations of the India-EU Free Trade Agreement on Tuesday. In the presence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, and the President of the European Council, Antonio Luis Santos da Costa, these agreements were signed, which include administrative arrangement on cooperation and disaster risk management, India-EU security and defence partnership, formal constitution of a green hydrogen task force to align standards and certification for clean energy trade. And to give you a rounded perspective on this very important development for the entire nation, I am now joined by Mr. Manjeev Singh Puri, who's been the former senior diplomat. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for joining us here at this very special broadcast, because it is a very special and historic moment, as both the leaders said. First of all, for the benefit of our viewers, we would like to understand it from you. Why are we terming this as the mother of all deals?
Deepika, thank you very much. This is truly an important and a very significant occasion, not only for India, but also for the European Union, and I dare say for the world in general. The European Union is the world's second largest economy. India, as you know, is on its way towards becoming the fourth or third largest economy in a few years' time. We are the two largest democracies in the world. When we come together, and we come together in the area of trade, which binds people together, they are, of course, our largest trade partner in goods. Then what it does truly is it signals to the world that these two large economies, massive democracies, are coming together. I want to make a couple of points to you. On trade, certainly there will be openings, possibilities for both India and the European Union. But more importantly than that, it signals to the European technology and financial powerhouses that India is an open economy where they can do business, invest in India, and at the same time have freedom of trade, both in terms of the access to Indian market as well as in terms of the world after that. This is the direction for our Viksit Bharat 2047. And for the European Union, especially in the context of transatlantic turbulence, President Trump and his tariffs, an excellent opportunity to cement much further its already known as strategic relationship with one of the large emerging powers in the world, and let me say, a power that is there to stay, and one which has got absolutely the huge amount of significance, including, as I mentioned to you, democracy, people, market, and capacity.
When we talk about this historic trade deal and the negotiations and the conclusions which have been finalized, which are the sectors which will be benefiting from these negotiations, this particular free trade agreement?
So the details of the trade agreement are not out. Only the general outline is there and the intent is there. But what is it that we know? Look, we know that agriculture will be left out, which is, I think, a particularly useful thing, politically very important. What will benefit? I think middle and small industry, medium and small industry will benefit from India a lot. Gems and jewelry, another major area of things. In terms of access, a lot will happen. But you know, Deepika, if I again stress what I said, for me, the greatest opportunity in this for India is not trade. It is the possibilities of attracting huge amounts of European investment into India. You know, many times we try to look at investment and trade in different silos, but they aren't for companies. Companies need freedom to be able to trade internationally across borders so that they can invest. That is how they build their supply chain. This is an agreement which signals something much more than trade. It's truly important. It has massive investment potential for India, and it has this signal of multi-alignment among major players in the world, which is truly very important for this agreement.
When we talk about this very important aspect, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his joint press conference address also mentioned about various sectors, including cybersecurity, including counter-terrorism, maritime security, and also IMEC sector as well. How do you look at the development, which is almost a 360-degree development, considering the fact that we want to become a developed nation by the year 2047, and we are also aiming to become the third largest economy?
Deepika, very well put. Look, India and the European Union are old partners. They're strategic partners for years, and there's a huge gamut of relationships. We and the European Union collaborated in the anti-piracy activities against the Somalians. So there's a lot of this. Now, all of this will certainly build. And as I mentioned to you, trade investment is one side of it. But the fact that there is political signal that the European Union itself is looking at trying to bolster its security capacities, its abilities in the area of cyber, in the area of anti-terrorism, and fundamentally in the area of being able to be a strong security partner. So it's not only that we will buy equipment like the Rafales from European countries, but in terms of building a relationship, which is very important. And I'm glad that you brought in IMEC. Look, the entire business of the Suez Canal was what? It was about linking India, this great continent and country, with Europe, bringing it closer. If we are able to provide a multimodal, not just alternative, but let me say, yet another complementary thing to the Suez Canal, a multimodal thing using railways and other things via the Middle East, how will it not benefit? It will be tremendous benefits, not just to us and India and the Indian economy, but I believe in terms of the fact that India is such a large economy, growing very well, it has low-cost manufacturing capacity. The Europeans will be also huge gainers as a result of it. The bringing together of two large economies, IMEC has its own role and a very important.
Also, when we talk about the joint presser, before that there was a photo op, and there we saw a show of strength. When Prime Minister Narendra Modi met both the European Union leaders, and there were handshakes, and the show of strength was entirely a different sort of message on the diplomatic platform. How do you see it?
Deepika, the Europeans have reached out to us for many years. In 2021, they invited Prime Minister Modi to address all the leaders of the European Union. He was the second world leader to do so after President Biden had done. Now, we also have huge and massive relations with them. The two leaders, or all these leaders, know each other very well. And I don't know if you and your viewers are aware, Antonio da Costa is of Indian origin. He became the first European leader of Indian origin when he became Prime Minister of Portugal about 10 years back, and is a recipient of the Prasar Bharati Samman. So, you know, the Prime Minister knows these leaders. They know the Prime Minister. This is our 16th summit. He himself has held so many of them with them. They know it. The chemistry between them is good. The political will is there. I would say thank you, Transatlantic, for having given it a little bit of a push. That was also important. But what I see is building a relationship which has economics as its root, but which builds politically coming together, which strengthens multipolarity in the world, which strengthens multi-alignment for both India as well as the European Union. For India, it's a recognition that we are a country of significance.
Also, the first EU legal gateway to India was also announced by von der Leyen. How important is it?
You know, these things are all very important. As I mentioned to you, the entire business of global trade, in a sense, was about Europe dealing with India. If I take you to William Dalrymple's book, what does he say? Lots of people talk about China, but it was really India. And so the Suez Canal helped that. All these gateways are going to be particularly important. I have absolutely no doubt, but again, if I say, the eating of this pudding will see what happens in terms of trade, in terms of other things. But for me, the signaling is very important for the economic stakeholders in both sides. It's also important for political stakeholders. That's true. It's important for security stakeholders. But economics, if you agree, is the bedrock of many things that you can do together. And when two of the largest economies of the world come together, then it bodes very well for every other aspect, security included, politics included. And remember, we are the two largest democracies in the world.
Indeed. And when we talk about the future prospects and further steps, the next steps in this procedure, because right now we have concluded the negotiations. This is a historic moment for us. What are the next steps involved? Because this will take time for coming into effect.
That is absolutely right. The Europeans are, of course, fairly rule-bound. There will be what is called legal scrubbing of the documents. what the negotiators who are both political and economic have done. The lawyers will go through all this such that they are compliant with EU laws, with India laws, and I dare say even they are WTO compliant. All of that will be checked. It takes a little bit of time. That on the side of the European Union, these kind of agreements also need to go through the European Parliament. In the case of India, our rules are such that parliamentary approvals are not necessary, the Union Cabinet can approve. So all of this takes a little bit of time, which is why they are all talking in terms of the agreement coming into force, hopefully in early 2027.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us and getting us a rounded perspective on this very historic development between India and the 27-nation bloc European Union.